Hey, this is Coach Sybil Kearse with Boss Lady 101 Pro, and I am so grateful that I get to share this time with you. I'm just going to briefly talk about one of the delivery methods that I use with my clients in our coaching. Okay. So basically, we start off as if it's like a construction site. And the reason why I make that analogy is because that's exactly what we have to do. We are all structured in some type of way, shape, or form from our beliefs, our biases, things we've learned over the years, things we've been conditioned to comprehend, whatever it is, we are like a structure, okay? And there's many different compartments and components that make up our overall structure. And so coaching is not something that you could go in and do overnight, right? Because it doesn't take overnight to build a structure. So obviously it's going to take some time to reconstruct. So that's why we have some different methodologies and different ways to deliver to our clients so that they can reach their desired result. Because it's not about me, it's not about the coach. The coach is just there to help the person figure out what it is that they're wanting to do. What is their end result? Because what I desire for a person has nothing to do with what they desire for themselves, right? So when we look at ourselves as this structure and the many different components, we obviously have to identify which component are we going to work with. Now, sometimes it may be a total demolition. Sometimes it's a specific area. It's mostly successful when we take it in the specific areas versus a total demolition, okay? So now that I have your mindset going with the flow of my analogy, we'll talk about it. So we have the demolition site. This is our structural being. This is who we are. And we are saying at this point, there's something that I would like to see myself do differently. There's something that I have been doing that isn't working. And I want to change the way things are going for myself. I don't want to continue to rewrite the same narrative. I want a different ending to my story. And that means that we have to be at the demolition site, okay? This demolition site is where we get grounded. Okay, so if we were to tear down something, it's going to have to be leveled, right? We need to be level-headed. We need to be willing to accept that there are some things that we have been doing for so long that wasn't quite conducive to our overall benefit. Okay, we have to be level-headed enough to understand that we are not perfect. We have to be level-headed and grounded enough to accept the fact that we're going to have to get vulnerable. We're going to have to expose and uncover some uglies about ourselves. Okay, and the truth of the matter is we all have them. I don't care how prestigious one person appears to be, how polished they appear to be. We all have some uglies that we would like to see better. Some are physical, some are more mental, emotional, internal, spiritual, but whatever the case is, they exist. And so in the demolition process, we have to identify that thing that we want to see look better than what it is. So we get grounded, we get level-headed, and we're going to have to accept the fact that we have to be vulnerable. You see, we're always vulnerable when we're going to admit our flaws. That's a form of a vulnerability. Some people can do it with ease and some people cannot. Okay. And the truth of the matter is, and I'm going to have some people that may disagree, but if you really think about what I'm saying, you will end up agreeing with me. When someone has difficulties exposing their vulnerability, right, that really means that there's a higher level of insecurity. There's a higher level of desired perfection. And so I cannot show people my vulnerable side because they may think I'm weak, or they may think I'm not good enough, or they may not understand that this polished image is not real. And so that is definitely a heightened sense of insecurity. But when one can get grounded and they can actually say, you know what, my mess does stink. Yes, my mess is a mess. When they can be vulnerable in the right environment, it actually helps them with those insecurities, okay? So here we are, we're at the demolition site. And as the coach, what I do is I help this person, I help my clients identify the compartment or the structure that needs to be demolished, okay? Needs to be demolished. We cannot change anything if we don't first get to the source of what the problem is, okay? And this is most likely going to fall under the category of your biases, your beliefs, whether they're political beliefs, cultural beliefs, religious beliefs. Some things we naturally are biased against. Has nothing to do with any kind of socialism or racism. It's just who we are. You know, we're that's part of the human design, but they exist. And sometimes it's even in those biases or those beliefs that we discover is our true stumbling blocks and hindrances from actually being able to move forward and be prosperous or be successful, okay? So in the demolition site, in this step, we are going to get exposed. We're going to be vulnerable, and we're going to have to admit some truths about ourselves, okay? And like I said, you got to be level-headed enough to do it. You cannot be defensive, and you cannot be offended by everything. This is where it's going to be, let's identify what needs to be demolished, okay? Now, once we've done that, we go to the discovery phase. And in this phase, we pretty much are in the plan development stage, because now we've identified the problem. We identified what needs to be demolished. Now we need a plan, because we can't just demolish it and leave it. It has to be reconstructed. It has to be rebuilt. So we need a plan, a development plan for that, right? So we're going to at first assess the damage. How much of our beliefs is embedded into our minds and our way of thinking? How much are we willing to stick to what we are used to? Or how much are we willing to admit that we have much more to learn? Better yet, how much are we going to resist unlearning some things? You see, because when we develop into the structural being that we are, it is based upon learned behaviors. It's based upon perceptions. It's based upon observations. And so we develop things that turn into our characteristics, that weave themselves into how we interact, our demeanors, and even our attitude. So how much is that prevalent in our being, right? We got to assess that damage so that we can develop the plan to reconstruct. We cannot fix something if we don't first know how damaged it is, okay? And this is where your vulnerability will be amplified. Because not only now are you going to say, I have a problem, we're going to identify how long we've had these problems. How many relationships was affected because of this issue? How many times have I not moved forward on something because of this, okay? So this groundbreaking stuff that we have to get to, because there's no reason to cover up anything just to mask as if it was fixed. So once we demolish it, now we got to assess the damage and see how bad it really is. And once we've done that, we're going to start digging. We're going to do some gold digging, G-O-A-L, gold digging, okay? Because we have to identify where we want to be. What do we want the new structure to look like? How strong do we want it to be? How big do we want it to be? How prominent, how effective? All of these things need to be identified. So we have to dig and identify the goal. What are we changing from and what are we changing to, right? So we identify the desired outcome. We're going to develop a blueprint to help us build that foundation so that we can continue to build the structure on it, okay? We're going to put a plan of action in place, because we have to have these instructions. We have to unlearn, relearn, or just simply learn new things. And in order to receive it, in order to digest it, we have to be able to chew. We have to be able to salivate. We have to be able to drink. And there's different things that happen in order for us to be able to get the food to where it needs to be so that it can be a nourishment to our bodies, right? So it's the same thing. Now that we've identified what needs to be demolished, and we've done that, we've developed, we've assessed the damage, because we know now how much work are we going to have to put into it. And now we have a plan to make it work, right? And that's where we set that foundation. And then now we have the coalition. Now it's going to be the work. We have to take the before and the after and compare. Have we really made any changes? Is there a distinct identification from what was to where we want to be? And does the plan make it work? Is there a bridge between this gap, right? And so that's when we have the coalition segment of the coaching. Because there's no use to making all of these plans if we're not going to put in the work, right? If we're not going to take the steps to get there, if we're not going to run the race, how can we win the race? So in this stage is where we now start to redirect some negative thoughts. We start to use all of the steps and the tools that we have in place to help you reach your goal, your desired outcome, the change you want to see within yourself. These 4 steps have been very successful in many of my clients' coaching journey. And the reason why it is because it's realistic. It's not something too far-fetched. It's not made up. And at the end of the day, it's solely dependent upon the person who is on the demolition site. It's dependent on you. Again, it has nothing to do with the coach. The only thing the coach is here to do is to offer you a different approach, a different perspective, but the work has to be done by you. And so that's why I love what I do, because I get to see the beginning product and the ending product. I get to see the transformation happen. I get to see how a person works so hard for themselves. Like, that's such a huge investment. And the return on the investment is the end result. And so I love what I do. I love how I do it. This is just one of the methods. And because so many people's circumstances are different, they vary. There's no one way to do it. There's no one way to deliver your strategy. But when you are working with a coach, they should always want to find what works for you. This method has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with what I think works best. It is strictly based off results because of how I've seen it work for other people. And so when we get from the demolition to the coalition stage, at this point, the person gets to look back and see how they may have responded to a certain situation to how they now are responding. And then the beauty happens, the magic happens, the glorious things happens. What happens? The person now believes in themselves, and they're able to apply these things in other areas of their life. They are able to help other people kind of see through their own changes what they may have to do, how they can affect change in other people's lives. That is the beauty of how a person can go from being uncoached to being coached. And that's why I love what I do. So as we go forward into the things and Boss Lady 101 Pro continues to grow, I fully intend to make myself more available to the people, some that may not even be my clients. One of the new ventures we're going to do what's called the Breakthrough Zone. And every Monday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, I will be going live on our Facebook page, and I will be basically covering a topic. I don't plan to be there for a very long time, but every week, either I will select the topic or I'll let someone make a suggestion. And we're going to have a dialogue. We're going to have a coaching session about, if this applies to you, here are some things that I think you can put into place as a plan of action for you to get from A to Z. And I'm super excited about that. And I cannot wait to help to see the people who will be able to look and see and glean, take notes, and tell me about how well this information has been a benefit to them. That's really what gives me the best joy, because it lets me know that there's hope for everyone. Okay. And every good coach has a coach. And I've had very few people who were willing to admit that. But the truth of the matter is, we've all been coached one way or another somehow. And when we are able to turn around and give back to other people, that's when your coach will get the most benefit and the most reward, because it lets them know that their work wasn't in vain. And so to all of my clients, to all the people that I have helped over the years, I love you so much. I thank you for entrusting me with all of the things that you wanted to accomplish and entrusting me to be with you on that journey. And to all of you all who will visit us at our Facebook page or visit us at www.bosslady101.pro. We look forward to sharing some memories with you. We look forward to giving you some insight and helping you be the best version of yourself, because you know what? You're one of a kind. And it's time that the world sees just exactly what you're made of. And so if we can ever be of any assistance to you, visit us, check us out. Get yourself locked in for a free consultation or a free coaching session with me, and I'll be glad to give you an assessment and help you discover what it is you need to do to accomplish all of your goals and your dreams, because time is of the essence. And we just don't have time to sit back and wait and watch everybody else doing it. It's time for you to do it for yourself. It's time for you to take it up a notch. It's time for you to show up for yourself. And I will be there with you every step of the way. So without further ado, have a look around. Visit us on Facebook.com/BossLady101Pro. Or again, you could visit us at www.BossLady101.pro. I'm Coach Sybil Kearse. I had a wonderful time with you, and I hope this information was helpful to you. Much love and success. God bless.